Hello, welcome to Garage Orchestra 2.0 with Mrs. Nelson. Today we're going to be talking about a couple of the symbols and vocabulary words in the beginning of your Essential Elements Book 1. Let's start with the clef. This is a treble clef. It's what the violins will read their music on. Treble clef. This symbol is called an alto clef. Violas, you will be looking at this clef, alto clef. This symbol is for the cellos and basses. It's called bass clef. The 5 lines and 4 spaces make up the musical staff. Staff. This is called the staff. The vertical lines that break up the staff are called bar lines. In between the bar lines is called a measure. Measure. This symbol that you'll see sometimes is called the time signature. This is called 4/4 time. There are different kinds of time signatures, and we'll talk about those later. But this is the most common and the one that you will see through most of your book 1. It tells you that there are 4 beats in a measure and that the quarter note gets the beat. We'll be talking about that more later. But just know that this is the time signature. This symbol, that's one little skinny line and one fat line, is called a double bar. It shows you the end of a piece of music, the double bar. I bet you remember this note from general music. It's called a quarter note. It gets 1 beat of sound. Sometimes we call that ta. Quarter note, 1 beat of sound. This is a quarter rest. It gets 1 beat of silence. I like to call it a shh. Quarter rest, 1 beat of silence. The quarter note and the quarter rest are going to be the thing that you see the most as we start learning our instruments. Quarter note, quarter rest. They both get 1 beat, either sound or silence. Other notes that I just want you to keep in the back of your head that we'll be using later are the whole note and whole rest. These get 4 beats each. 4 beats of sound, 4 beats of silence. It's a circle, not filled in, for the whole note, and it's a little box hanging from the line, kind of creating a hole in the ground for the rest. The half note and the half rest each get 2 beats. 2 beats of sound, 2 beats of silence. The half note is just like the whole note, except for it has what's called a stem. The half rest looks like the whole rest, except it's flipped upside down. Now it looks like a hat instead of a hole. This is an 8th note all by itself. 8th note and 8th rest. We're not going to see these for a little while, but I want you to know that they exist. 8th note up is a half a beat of sound, and an 8th rest is a half a beat of silence. 16th note. Oh my goodness, that note is so teeny tiny. The 16th note looks like the 8th note, but it has 2 tails. Just like the 16th rest has 2 flags. 16th note. That gets a quarter beat of sound or a quarter beat of silence. That brings us back to the clefs. Let's do a little review. Treble clef, violins. Alto clef, violas. Bass clef, cellos and basses. 5 lines, 4 spaces. Musical staff. Staff. The vertical line that breaks up the staff is called a bar line. In between is called a measure. Do you remember what this is? It's the time signature. This one tells you that there's 4 beats in a measure and the quarter note gets a beat. This signifies the end of a piece of music. It's a skinny line and a thick line, and it stops the musical staff. Quarter note, quarter rest, ta, sh. Whole note, whole rest, 4 beats. Half rest, half note, half rest, 2 beats. 8th note, 8th rest, half a beat. 16th note, 16th rest, quarter of a beat. We'll talk more about those notes later, but just keep them in your mind and remember what they're worth.